Hey, it's Grady at Twin Creek Audio. Back in the studio today, I've had some questions about the Soundtracs Topaz from several viewers, so I thought I'd make a little Q&A video today. The questions that I've gotten the most of are how do you connect studio monitors to the Soundtracs Topaz, and how do you connect your audio interface to the Soundtracs Topaz. So let's look at both of those on the back of the Topaz first, and then I'll probably go into a little bit more of the front panel and how it works as far as the outputs, especially how to send things to your interface. First question that I'm going to illustrate here is how to hook up control room monitors to the Soundtracs Topaz. We're on the back of the master section here, and you have two sets of control room outputs, control room or CRA and CRB. Now if you have powered studio monitors, you can plug these left and right connections for either set of control room studio monitors straight into the 1/4 inch inputs on your monitors. However, if you're using passive studio monitors, these would go to the inputs of an amp that you would connect to your passive studio monitors. And you do have two separate outputs that are accessed via the switch in the master section to select either A or B. And again, they can go to a powered studio monitor without having to go to an amp first. So in the simplest of terms, these tape outputs on the channels would go to the inputs of your audio interface, and the outputs of your audio interface or tape machine would go to these monitor tape in plugs on the back of each channel. You can also use the group outputs over here on the back of the master section, but when using the tape outputs, it gives you the flexibility, as each one of these tape outputs is normally the direct output of that channel, so you're bypassing all the other circuitry. It also can become one of the group outputs or bus outputs by pressing the bus switch on the front of each channel, at the top actually. And then the outputs of your audio interface, you would connect those to where it says monitor tape in. And again, this is a 24 channel Topaz, so you've got 24 tape outs and 24 monitor tape ins. So it all kind of depends on the number of inputs and outputs on your interface, how you would connect this. If you've got an 8-channel interface, I would probably connect the first 8 tape outputs here on the back of the Topaz to the inputs of your interface, and then connect the outputs of the interface to the first 8 tape in, monitor tape in. That gives you the flexibility of sending the buses also to your interface by using the bus switch at the top of that channel to turn that tape out into a bus out. You can also feed the input of your audio interface from the group outputs over here, and that will work just fine, except that you don't have the flexibility of using the direct output of the channel, and you are going to have the group circuitry in the signal path instead of just the direct out of that channel. So that all depends on whether you want to group things, but you can still group things and then change your channel tape out to one of the bus outs. So to me, that's the best and most flexible way to connect one of these to an interface. The tape out to the input of the interface, and the tape in from the output of the interface. The Soundtracs Topaz Project 8 is an inline console, which means that all of these channels have 2 different signal paths. You've got the main signal path on the big fader that's coming from normally from your mic line gain, and then through the EQ and through the aux sends, etc., etc., and then it can be assigned to the main left-right bus or to any of the subgroups. But you've also got the monitor path here. These are like a separate set of channels that are embedded in the main channels on the Topaz. A lot of inline consoles work this way. This is so you can set your levels here going to tape or to your interface, and then you can monitor those levels coming back, so you can build your own custom mix, your monitor mix or mix for the musicians that are playing in the studio, and that kind of thing. So it's a combination of two channels in one, and on the Topaz they can be merged over here with the merge switch in the monitor section. Normally with the flip switches at the top up, your main channels coming through the main signal path and your tape input or monitor signals coming through the small, so where they're just rotary knobs on this console. Some inline consoles actually have another fader like the Soundcraft Sapphire does. So this would be your playback from tape, and this would be the levels going to tape or to the interface on an inline console like this Soundtracs Topaz Project 8. So when the channels on the Topaz are in normal mode, the flip button here at the top of the strip is up, which means your main channel coming from your mic input or your line input are coming down through the EQ. This is the monitor EQ, that's separate for the monitor channels. And then you've got aux sends that are for either or, depending on how they're marked on here, and some of them can be switched to the monitor channels like that by pressing those buttons. And they're kind of in banks. I did a whole video on this, so if you want to know all the details of how everything works, go back and take a look at the details video that I made on the Soundtracs Topaz. But right now I just want to go over mainly the fact that you've got your main channels with the flip switch up. So normally your microphone inputs are coming through the main channels and the big fader, and then the outputs from your interface or tape machine for playback are coming to the tape inputs on the back of the Topaz, and those come up here, the monitor volume, pan, and on the Topaz you have a separate monitor solo and monitor mute. Something like a Mackie 8 bus doesn't have that feature. And on the Mackie you can borrow the EQ for the monitor channels, but on this one it has a dedicated high and low shelving EQ just for the monitor channels on every channel of this little console. So if we look at the top of the channel strips on the Soundtracs Topaz, you can see I'm looking at channel 19 and channel 20. Each of those has a bus switch with a number. So if you press the bus switch on channel 19, it's going to take the tape out on that channel on the back and turn it into the output of bus 3 instead of the output of channel 19. So for an example, I'm going to look at bus 6 and channel 6. The channel 6 output I'm going to have connected to the number 6 input on my audio interface. So say I want to combine multiple sources to go to that one input on the audio interface, and I have this output tape out on channel 6 connected to number 6 input on my audio interface. I would press the bus 6 button there at the top of that channel strip, and then I would come over to the channels that I want to combine. I've chosen 17 through 21 for right now. And I would push down the bus 5-6 switch. That's 3-4. And then I would come up here to the pan controls for those, and I would pan them to the right with the channel pan. So now these 4 channels are going to bus number 6. So I just need to make sure over here in my submaster section that I have channel 6 turned up. So now these 4 channels are combined and being sent over to bus number 6, but the output of bus number 6 is now the tape output of channel 6 because I've pressed the bus 6 button at the top of that channel. Now let's say we want to send a stereo source to the audio interface, and we need a pair of buses to do that if we want to combine multiple sources into a stereo output. So we're going to use channel 5 and 6. I'm going to push down bus 5 and bus 6 switch. So now the outputs of channel 5 and channel 6 on the tape output are now bus 5 and 6. So we can come back over here to our 4 channels, 17 through 20. I think I said 21 before, 17 through 20. And we have bus 5 and 6 switches already down, but we can pan those sources around in some sort of a stereo way, however you want to do that. You pan that. Maybe we want these two channels more to the right and the other two a little more to the left in stereo. So now we're sending the output of these channels in stereo to bus 5 and 6. So we just need to make sure that bus 5 is also turned up. So now our stereo mix from these 4 faders, how we have those panned, are going to go over in stereo to bus 5 and 6, which, because we have these buttons dropped up here on channels 5 and 6, now the outputs, the tape output on channel 5 and 6 are your bus 5 and 6 outputs as a stereo output, combination of those 4 channels. In the control room section, we can kind of see how this works. If you're sending things to tape, I mean, you can monitor straight off of the instruments coming into the main channels. You've got a studio output. You can use your main mix to feed this studio output, which usually goes to a headphone amp, or you can use the monitor mix, which that gives you a means to separate what you're hearing. So you can make your mix over here on your monitor channels for yourself and your clients to hear. That way the levels you change in the headphone mix aren't affecting the levels that are going to tape on your main channels down here. So that's the reason it's set up that way. So you've got some independence there, and you're not affecting your levels to tape by what you're sending out to your studio out or headphone mix. And you can combine various things in here. So right now I'm listening to the main mix on my control room monitors, but I could listen to the monitor mix instead. And of course you've got the merge switch, so if your final mix down you need 48 channels, well, you've got 48 main inputs, like line inputs, and then you've got an additional 48 tape ins that go to these monitor channels. So you could technically mix 48 different sources, and you merge those two by pressing this merge button. So then your monitor channels merge with your main mix over here, effectively giving you 48 channels on mixdown. Well, I hope this video has answered some of the questions I've had about how to get audio in and out of the Soundtracs Topaz to your digital audio interface, and how to route and group things. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll probably make more Q&A videos about this console because they're really popular and they're really good consoles. They sound fantastic. In this case, I have 24 excellent preamps, 24 excellent analog EQs, and all of the routing and flexible features of this console. If you combine that with a digital audio interface, a digital audio workstation, you really have a powerful system for a studio. Also remember that I have a whole series of videos on the Soundtracs Topaz here on this channel, and they go into a lot of detail about all the functions and features. So make sure to check that out. I'll put a link to that at the end of this video, to that playlist with all of the Soundtracs Topaz videos that I've done. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to support this channel, there are numerous links in the description on music and different things that I've released, my Reverb store, my 3 albums, stuff that I've produced that's available on streaming services and iTunes to buy and download, things like that. All those things do help support this channel and help keep me and my musical adventures and studio adventures going. So check out those links in the description, and I hope you all have an excellent day, night, evening, weekend, weekday, hour, minute, second, nanosecond, whatever it is you're having. Have a good one. And please also don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Twin Creek Audio YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching.